Once you have done your analysis, you also have to create a map for export or for part of your report that you're submitting to your employer or your client or anything like that, even upload to the website or any website for that matter. And again, it is quite a straightforward process. However, it is not in your layout view. This is part of your map view. So if you look at the screen, now this is your layout view. So you've got your individual layers here, and they are drawn according to what you have set them to be in your table of content. If you go down here, if you hover over your items, you have layout view and data view. So you want to be in your layout view before you were in your data view. And this is where you're going to create your map. You will if you export this image, this is exactly what you're going to get in your layout view. So this is what the map is going to look like. Now it's very important to remember the purpose of your map while you're doing this and the elements that must be part of it. So for this exercise, you have a very simple view, really, with a nature reserve, one of them, and a few roads, some farm outlines, and farms indicated with boreholes. That alone is not enough for a map. You have to include some map elements in it. For example, you go to your Insert menu, say Insert Title, and you're going to say Nature Reserve or something like that, depending on the topic of your map. Nature Reserve in the Northwest Province. This is actually where it's located in South Africa. For example, this is just simply an example. You don't also have to include a legend, and then you decide what should be on there. For example, the nature reserve, road rail, nature reserve should be above that. Farm outlines should also be above that. You can decide, for example, do you want certain things in multiple columns or not? Do you want the legend to appear? Generally, you don't want the legend to actually say legend because it's implied that it is a legend. So you just go through the wizard and it'll be created, and here it is. So we've got farm outlines, borehole, nature reserve, rail, and road. You also want some kind of scale because people want to be able to measure things if they use the map. So there are various options here for you. A very simple one is this type of scale. It's just a line scale. You can change the properties. You can have it set in degrees and miles and kilometers, anything like that. Because it's in South Africa, we're going to stick with kilometers. We will put the label position below center. It can also be after, anything like that. It's entirely up to you. We're going to say OK, and it's going to be drawn. And here it is. So that extent equals 20 kilometers on the map, equal to obviously the same distance. That one distance on the map equals 1 kilometer in the real ground, in the earth, basically. You also want a north arrow, of course, because you never really know where north is. So you just use any one that you like. You just use a standard SU one in this instance. And we also want a little bit of information about the person that's actually creating the map. So in this instance, my name is C. Hansen. This is for GIS 310, which is a 30 subject at the University of Pretoria. The year is 2019. The datum is WGS 1984. And it uses a local datum, local meridian of 27. This will be my metadata. By default, it's always shown in the center, but you can pull it out. If you double click on it, you can actually change it. So you can do what you want, change the symbol, make it bigger, make it smaller. Let's make it 14 so it's easier to see. There we are. So now the purpose is to make the map balanced, of course. The map must also be balanced. So we want this particular map to be visually appealing. This is one of the options. We can zoom in a little bit to that. We can change some of the individual parameters to make it more visible, like that. But this is already entirely up to you. What you can also do, of course, is that you can make use of the tools that are at your disposal. For example, double-clicking the legend. You can have, for example, the points, the boreholes, actually draw above everything else. You can also have anything that's not a point or polygon, draw in a new column, like that, which is quite useful. Then you can simply align the different items to your purposes. Always make sure that your scale is in a logical subdivision, not 14. 15 is fine. In this instance, this particular north arrow is no longer as suitable, so we'll try to find one that's a little bit bigger. You can change it by saying style, for example, like that one. Takes up a little bit more space, so it will be slightly more suited. You can have them all align at the bottom, align bottom. For example, you can have them align center as well, like that. Have to go up slightly as well. And that will be mostly balanced, not necessarily so. You can also move that to the side. Put it in the center. Move this the scripture here. It's entirely up to you and how you would like your map to be shown. There's not really much, there's a little bit of science behind this, but also it's a lot of just art. So if you think that something works, by all means go with it. Few people stop you. And there you go. So here we have a map of a nature reserve in the northwest province of South Africa. I'll probably label feature as well. In this case, it's not very useful because it doesn't really give us the name, but it will give you the general idea of how to create a map. Now, the final point is to export the map. So you say File, Export Map. You will give it a name, for example, Nature Reserve. You can create a JPEG, PDF. Interesting thing about the PDF, you can actually make a geographically enabled PDF, so a PDF that almost works like a map. But for this purpose, we'll just do a JPEG in general. So we'll just do a JPEG here. You can create the dots per inch or the DPI, but this is for the default is normally fine. You just say save. It will export. If you go to your actual folder where you export it to, if you're not entirely sure where you export it to, just go back to this view. You say File, Export Map. I'll tell you where you're going. So you're in Practicals and Nature Reserve. You can double click on it, and here's your map with all the information on it.